Hi everybody, this is Deb and it is Sunday, challenge day. However, today there's not going to be a challenge, or I should say this week. We're not going to have a challenge this week. I know that there are some that have, busy lives and they haven't had the opportunity to do some of the challenges yet. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to do something different today. So what I'm going to show you is a process video of sorts. So what I am going to show you how to do is to use your stamps in a really cute project. And this project could be used either for embroidery work and a quilt or a journal. You could use paper or fabric, either one. So I'm going to show you how to do it. So what I've got here is a hexagon pattern that I drew using this guy right here. And I'll talk more about him in a minute. And he fits right on the inside of here. And then this would be the cutting line. So a lot of, rather than doing one at a time and trying to, mess with one little tiny piece of fabric or even paper, if you've got everything on one 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, or several of the images, I guess I should say, then you can go ahead and stamp your images. You could embroider them or just leave them stamped. Then cut them out and utilize them with your template. So I am going to upload this into our files, The Art of Journal Making and Paper Crafting, and so that you can use it. You don't have to go through all what I did to get it on here. So if you want to put this on fabric like I have here, what I did was I have let me take this out so there's no glare. I bought a package of Cut Right heavy duty freezer paper, and when they say heavy duty, it really is. It's beautiful. So it's 8.5 by 11. So all I did was iron it shiny side onto your, in this case I used muslin, but it would be just as cute if you used it on a neutral print or something like that. All kinds of things. Gingham would be so cute. Oh gosh, so many things. Just depends on the journal that you're working on, or the quilt if you're doing a quilt. So anyway, you iron the shiny side to the back of the fabric, and then you cut around it. And I used a rotary cutter and a self-healing mat and a ruler, acrylic ruler. And it then looked like this. You take it to your printer, you put your paper template copy on the glass. Now this only works for inkjet printers. If you've got a laser, then it's not going to work because it gets too hot. And it won't, because this is heat adhered, so it won't work. My printer feeds it through, so I have to put it face down because then it feeds it through up like this. Okay? So you have to know how your paper feeds. I would suspect that most of them do. I mean, some of them might feed through just straight like that, but I think that most of them feed through like this. And if that's the case, then you're going to put fabric side down and just run it through your printer, and that's what you get. So, but as I mentioned, you don't have to use fabric. You can use paper if you would prefer to do that. And if you're going to use paper, then you don't really need these cut lines. You would cut here, or, well, no, you could cut here, and then you would cut your corners and then fold back on this line. So yeah, that would work. That would be great. So, but you can use fabric on your journals, you know, little fabric hexagons, or yo-yos, which are called Suffolk Suffolk, what are they? Oh goodness, Maxine, help. Suffolk, oh brother, some puffs, I think, Suffolk puffs. Anyway, thanks to Maxine for telling me that, which I've obviously forgotten. So, okay, so you don't have to worry about having this, you know, going through all the lines and all that kind of stuff like I did. But another way that you might like to do it would be to utilize if you don't want to go through the whole printer process, you may want to use a light box. Let me see if my cord's kind of short here. I get my light box plugged back in. I love this. It's not, actually this isn't a light box, it's a light pad. I got it from Amazon. It's awesome. You know, I think I paid like 12 bucks for it. But you can see how you could just put your fabric on top, or paper, whatever you want to do. If for some reason you don't have a printer, and just take and, you know, take a ruler and copy all the and trace all the lines. So there's another idea for you. All right, now let me move this. So let's talk about the process of stamping. Now, because these are small images, or small hexagons, you're gonna pretty much want whatever stamp that you're going to use to be small. Now, that doesn't mean that you couldn't use a bigger image that will go past your hexagon, recognizing that when you make your hexagon, this part's not going to be there. So, for example, this vine. So you could put that vine on there like this, and then this part's just going to be gone. But, you know, put your vine on there, then put a little bird on there. This is a really cute stamp set that I got from Art Impressions. This one is Cartabella. Oh, I love Cartabella paper and their stamps. But see how tiny and how they just fit perfectly. And even words. Wouldn't words be so great? Here's one that says, whatever you do, do with heart. So what you're basically making are little art pieces out of hexagon. Out of the hexagon shapes. So here's one that I just recently got. It's a Tim Holtz that includes the stencil, which is really awesome. But it's got butterflies on there. So see how the butterfly just fits beautifully on here. Here are some other, this one's a little bunny that I got also from Art Impressions. And of course I've got it on this is what it looks like. And then you can just stamp that guy on there like that. So when you're going through the stamping, depending upon what you're going to use these for, I would recommend a different ink for what your purpose is. So for example, if you are going to embroider these, you don't want your images to be really dark because you're going to embroider over it and you don't want those dark images showing through. So I really recommend VersaFine products. They stamp beautifully. They're very juicy. They're permanent. In this case, this is called smoky gray. And so that would be my other recommendation, is to use a very light color. In VersaFine, they've got like toffee. They've just got a variety of colors. Again, Amazon, my favorite place to shop. So I don't buy the great big ones in the colors like this, because you know, I don't need all that ink. So although sometimes these dudes cost more than the big pads. So now if you're going to if you're not going to embroider it, and if you're going to use it for a quilt or a journal, and it needs to be permanent, again, you want to make sure that whatever ink that you use is permanent. So I'm looking at this. So this is a Distress Oxide, and it doesn't say that it is permanent. So it says it's dye and pigment ink. So, I mean, it might be permanent, but it doesn't say so. But they come in such wonderful colors that, you know, if you're just going to use it in your journal or onto a quilt that's not going to get washed, or let me say this, or a project that's not going to get washed, because it could be a wall hanging, or, you know, things, or something that you're going to put on a, you know, frame or whatever, then you can utilize these distress inks or distress oxides. This happens to be a distress oxide. So let's see what that looks like. So, well, I don't want a green bunny. Let me get a different color for my bunny. How about blue? How about we use faded jeans? And I've already got him on a block. And let me show you how I stamp it. I keep it down on the table, and rather than putting the stamp pad on this, you put the stamp on the ink pad like this. So let's take a look at this guy. Now you notice that I'm holding it a little bit, and I'm not pressing too hard, but I am holding it so that that ink has an opportunity to soak into the fabric. And there he is. Isn't he cute? He is adorable. So I like that you can use these see-through acrylics, and then you can see on placement, because I wanted him here in this little pointy part right here, and then that way I can do other things up there if I would like to do that, or I could put him in the center. You know, it's entirely up to you. But my plan is I want to have little things, you know, probably like little butterflies up above. So, and you can use a combination. So like here, I'm going to leave him stamped, and I'm not going to embroider him. I'm going to use my colored pencils. So let me get those out and let's play with that a little bit. the colored pencils I have, I've got all kinds of stuff. And even crayons. Even crayons would be cute. But these colored pencils are Crayola Signature. So, but what color could we make this cute little bunny? So we're going to, I'm starting here in this corner and back in this little back leg because it's going to be a deeper color there. All the places where the color are deeper. So, because he's really going to be kind of a pale bunny. He's not going to be very dark. So, I mean, this is like watching paint dry, so. But you get the drift. So there's our little bunny. And all I did was add a little color. But even if you wanted to do it like maybe an Easter bunny, you could go in, let's see. Yeah, this pink would be good. So let's go in and let's just make him pink. Now let's give him a really rosy little cheek there. A little pink nose. So now he's kind of pink. He's kind of an Easter bunny. So I really like that blue because it comes, what did I say that was? Faded jeans? Yeah, faded jeans. Because see how soft it is. And I mean, that's really a nice color. I like that. I have to use that again. Okay, so anyway, that's what I'm going to do with mine. I'm not going to embroider them, but you sure could. Now, I am going to embroider on this, but I'm not going to embroider him. What I'm going to do is put little embroidered, using Lazy Daisy Stitch butterflies up here to accentuate him. Now, you'll notice that right now, this is still on the paper. I don't recommend removing it from the paper until you've got all your images stamped or whatever it is that you're going to do with it. Stamped, colored, that type of thing. Even watercolor. I've got some watercolor pencil or pens. Let's see here. This might be too late since he's... Yeah, he's just pretty daggone cute, isn't he? So obviously that's several different layers of stuff, but you know, it doesn't look bad. So I use Tombows. Make sure they're water based if you're going to use a watercolor. Now, here's another way I could have done it. I don't have water in here, unfortunately. But the way I use my watercolor pens is like this. I've got a palette. Load it onto my brush. And then very carefully, this that I had over here with the watercolor brush, you can move that out. I do a lot of watercolor. So he turned out pretty cute. So anyway, as I was saying, you want to leave your fabric onto the paper, the freezer paper. until you've got all of your stamping, painting, coloring, whatever it is that you're going to do. And when you're ready to sew it, then you can take it off. But you still don't want to cut them out yet. Then you're going to use a embroidery hoop, which I should have gotten out and didn't. Okay, so here's my embroidery hoop. You would take it off the paper and you would load it onto your hoop and do your embroidery work. When they're all completely done, then you can cut them apart. And then when you cut them apart, I bought these. Now, where did I put it? Well, this little, dang it. The little template, a little plastic template. Here it is. So I bought a whole package of these. And they had I got them at Joann, and they had a metal, like a metal post. Because what you do is, then you put this behind your, you can't see it here, but you would put it behind your embroidery. You are able to fold it over with an iron. These are iron proof, heat proof. So you're able to fold them over with an iron. And I would use a paintbrush, a water brush. Let me show you mine. That's got now, where is it? Oh, here we go. So this has got starch in it, spray starch. And then you can just put your spray starch on the edge, fold it over, iron it. Spray starch, fold it over, iron it. Spray starch, fold it over, iron it. So obviously this is the back side of the fabric. So then you've got hexagon shapes that you can attach to journal covers or pages. You can glue them. You don't have to sew them. You could glue them, or if you wanted to sew them, you could just sew around them. If you had a sewing machine, you could just sew around it with like a blanket stitch. Or if you wanted to hand sew it, you could do that with just a whip stitch. So there's lots of different ways that you can utilize your tools. And I really suggest that you just take a look at all your supplies and all your different things and consider, how could I use this in a different way? How could I use this for journaling? How could I use this for quilting? Whatever it is that your that your interest is. So another thing that you could do is you could actually use stencils. That'd be kind of cool too. And when I do stenciling, I just use my I'm gonna need to have a little more than that. And you could do the center a different color if you wanted. You could do the leaves a different color. How vintage does that look? That looks really cool. I like that. So, there you have it. And like I said, I'm sure that there are those of you out there that have lots of different ideas. I know that Yasi has got lots of ideas. So, I really look forward to seeing whatever it is that y'all come up with. And so that's your challenge for this week. And that is to take a look at your tools and your supplies in a different light. How can I use this? How can I use this, which is a you know, a sewing tool? How can I use this in my journal? So I decided to come up with this because within our primitive group, we are going to be having an embroidery project. Let me say that. We've got lots of really awesome things coming up in our primitive group that I'm really looking forward to. I've got a great team of group experts that have just really got great ideas and volunteer for all kinds of stuff. But anyway, I digress. So, because we're going to be doing this type of a project, my brain thinks, and this is why the government paid me big money, how can I do this in the most efficient way? How can I improve processes, whatever the case may be? So, this project that we've got coming up with hexagons, I thought, how can I make my job easier? And so I came up with this printable, and just for myself. And then I thought, well, what the heck? I'll share this with other people in the group. And so that's where we're at. I'm sharing it with you folks in the paper crafting group. So, and I may share it with the primitive group as well. But anyway, so that's all I have for you for this week. I look forward to seeing your ideas and the different ways that you take your tools and utilize them to make your work easier, to make your crafting easier. So anyway, this is Deb. I'm saying bye.